let's get going. This is a scoping meeting for the environmental impact report being produced by the California Department of Food and Ag for the light brown apple moth eradication program. This is the second set of scoping meetings we've had. This set was triggered by two decisions. One was to expand the possible area in which the light brown apple moth may occur from the Monterey-San Francisco Bay Area statewide. The second was the inclusion of the sterile insect technique in the tools to be used to eradicate this particular insect. This is the second of three meetings. The third, and sorry we just changed that a few minutes ago, will be held August 18th in San Jose, and that notice should go up tomorrow on the website. Purpose of this meeting is to get information from the public to guide us on the development of a programmatic environmental impact report. We want to hear from you specifically on what alternatives need to be addressed to deal with the problem, environmental issues and significant effects you want to see covered in the draft DIR, and potential mitigation measures. We're going to give you a short program overview, performance of 2007, project and no project description, and the review process going to public comments. We will ask that you be respectful, turn off your cell phones and pagers or make them silent. Please listen to everyone else. Avoid sidebar discussions. We ask that you stay on time with your public comments. Address one issue at a time. Keep your comments brief and concise. We ask that you begin with your name. Please spell your last name and the organization you represent. We'll be recording this information for getting to make sure we got all the data and all the requests that have been made for the draft environmental impact report. Pam will wave her hand again. We'll be moderating. She will let you know you have 3 minutes to speak. She'll let you know when your time is just about up. And then when it is, when everyone has spoken, if there's time left at the end of the meeting and you wish to have further comments, we'll give you an opportunity to speak then. Brief project history. Moths were collected and identified as light brown apple moth in Alameda County in February of 2007. Shortly thereafter, we began a pheromone-based trapping program run throughout the state of California to try and determine where this insect is in the state. Initially, we quarantined parts of Alameda, Contra Costa, San Francisco, Marin, and Santa Clara counties. Those were issued under a quarantine from the USDA with input from the CDFA. We have established a technical working group composed of experts on light brown apple moth from Australia and New Zealand. There are also representatives from the University of California, United States Department of Agriculture, Agricultural Research Service, and CFIST. These are all experts in various areas of moth control, including most of the tools that we propose to use. Treatments from the air were conducted in Monterey and Santa Cruz counties in late 2007. The Secretary in late 2007 established an environmental advisory task force to advise him on possible environmental effects of the tools we're using to eradicate the light brown apple moth. There is an action plan on the website. Light brown apple moth is a tortricid, as a leaf roller insect. Insect that makes its living as a caterpillar by rolling leaves together or needles, in the case of pine cones or the conifers. It both lives inside this shelter and eats both the shelter, part of it, and the adjoining foliage around there. The insect has been known or projected to attack over 2,000 different kinds of plants, many trees, ornamentals, agricultural crops, and possibly it poses a threat to rare, threatened, or endangered species and native plants in the state of California. We have over 40,000 traps currently out statewide, emphasizing the urban areas. This number is low. We've caught over close to 20,000 moths have been trapped throughout the state of California. Quarantines have been erected in virtually all of the infested areas. Quarantines are designed to reduce the probability of human transport of this insect. We know from some of the work we are doing that the insect has been inadvertently moved in nursery stock from infested areas to uninfested areas throughout California. Our treatment methods, we started using ground application of mating pheromone disruption. The insect males and females communicate by the females producing a perfume-like material we call a pheromone. The male moths are attuned to this, they smell it, they fly to find the female and mate with her. If you put enough of this pheromone into the environment, the male and female moths can't find each other, they don't mate, no viable eggs are produced. We've applied the mating pheromone disruption material from both ground and aerial applications. We've started an extensive research and development program looking at a number of ways to eradicate this insect and control it. Research includes work on sterile insect technique, that is the use of sterilized moths to release over a population. The wild moths mate with the sterile moths and again produce no viable eggs. We're looking at other ways of developing and delivering the pheromone, including the use of third-party insects, so to speak. We're also investigating the possibility of biological control for this pest. We have used and may in the future use biologically based pesticides. This would be Bacillus thuringiensis, BT, or spinosad. Both of these will be used if necessary to treat large larval populations should we find any. The CDFA and USDA approach has a long-standing policy of using effective tools in the most environmentally sensitive way possible. All techniques being considered alternatives to a wide-set spraying of conventional insecticides including BT, carbaryl, malathion, and spinosad, all of which have been used in various programs in the past to treat other moths or other fruit flies. In this particular program, we're using a systems approach using multiple tools where we try and balance the tool we're using with the size and intensity of the infestation. This is not a program where one size fits all. We believe in the last year or so we've identified the major infested areas within the state of California. In general, the heaviest infestations extend from Monterey in the south to Marin to the north, and out through Alameda and Contra Costa counties to the east. We have said on many occasions that we do expect to find small isolated infestations outside this area. We have found those recently, one in Santa Barbara, which is currently undergoing eradication, and one in Sonoma County. We've expanded, as we said, our treatment area to all urban and agricultural areas. We've started research on alternatives for control and eradication. We have also finished research looking at 4 different ways of applying the aerial pheromone. These were evaluated in New Zealand. That material is now undergoing health review by the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment and the Department of Pesticide Regulation. When all that information has been done and the results of the reports are in, that information will be released. We have begun CEQA compliance activities. You all are here. The proposed 2008-2009 plan is to eradicate this pest from California. We believe this is the best way to protect our natural environment, protect our native plant species, crop, and ornamental crops, to prevent long-term significant losses to agriculture, and to prevent increased pesticide use, to protect plants from impeding. A control program is exactly that. In a control program, you've given up the idea that you're going to not have any problems with the insect. Instead, you're trying to create areas, so to speak, small islands of freedom or low densities of the pest and a sea in the insect. This was typically done in commercial agriculture. You're typically surrounded by the pest, and you're trying to protect your crop. So you treat your crop, knock the population down to an acceptable level, and quit. We're doing pretty much exactly the opposite in eradication. The goal is to treat the entire infested area, eliminate the insect completely so there's nothing else to reinvade. At that point, no additional control measures are needed. Program objectives is to eradicate the insect in California, prevent its spread, protect our crops, our plants, our native environment, prevent the projected increases in pesticide use we believe this pest will engender, protect our native plants, and use the least environmentally disruptive tools in the process. Program will be using applications of mating disruption pheromone by ground and air. The ground tools are two. One is the use of twist ties. These are essentially larger versions of the same kind of twist ties you get at the grocery store to close your bags. They have the pheromone in them. We apply those at a rate of 250 per acre, saturate the area essentially with the pheromone, and the male and female moths cannot find each other. We've used this tool successfully at a number of locations and have eradicated at least half dozen sites with this tool. We're also projecting that we will be mixing this pheromone with a sticky material, applying it to trees and shrubs in infested areas from the ground. These would be in areas that we would not be able to use twist ties. Again, the pheromone will be released and keep the male moths and female moths from finding each other. Lastly, we're looking at the aerial application of the pheromone. This will be over areas that cannot be treated from the ground, large agricultural areas or undeveloped areas with few to no people, areas again where we can't come in and treat from the ground. We're looking at the possible use of classic insecticides. I've mentioned Bt and spinosad. These would only be used if we find large larval infestations. We would treat the infested and adjacent property at the most. They would be treated from the ground. At this point in time, we have no sites where we plan to use Bt or spinosad against this insect. We're looking to use male moth attractant treatments. In this case, we would be mixing the pheromone with a sticky material and the insecticide permethrin, which is a synthetic pyrethroid. This would be applied to street trees and utility poles in large areas. This would be applied from slowly moving vehicles, very similar to a technique we use for eradicating fruit flies from California. The moths would be attracted to the sites. They would crawl over the material trying to find the female, get a lethal dose of the insecticide, and die. We're looking at the use of trichogramma wasps. These are two native species of wasps that are commercially available. The females lay their eggs inside the light brown apple moth eggs. Their eggs hatch, their larvae eat the light brown apple moth egg from the inside, killing it. These would be released in high density areas to knock the population of light brown apple moth down prior to using some other tool to finish the population off. We're also looking at the possibility of classical biological control should eradication fail. Classical biological control is a 3 to 5 year time lag from the time you start until you're able to use the tool. Without prejudging whether or not we would be successful, we deemed it prudent, with considering what we believe the impact of this moth to be, to start a biocontrol program as a backup should eradication not prove feasible. This is being done in conjunction with the USDA and University of California scientists. Lastly, we're looking to use sterile moths to effect eradication over large areas. This would involve raising large numbers of light brown apple moths, sterilizing them, then releasing them into the environment where the sterile moths will mate with the wild moths. Resulting eggs produced by the wild females will be infertile. This tool has been used against other moths, including codling moth, false codling moth, gypsy moth, pink bollworm moth. It's used extensively against fruit flies in California, including Mexican fruit fly and medfly. It is a tool with which we are familiar and we have a tremendously high level of confidence. The overall plan has 3 components: treating the heaviest infestations in Monterey and Santa Cruz County, then moving north into the San Francisco Bay Area. We're also going to treat outlier infestations, primarily with the use of twist ties. This is consistent with what we've been doing or have done in LA, Napa, Sonoma, Santa Barbara counties. Also using different tools to eradicate these small isolated infestations in places like Half Moon Bay and parts of Santa Cruz and Santa Clara counties. This is what we believe will happen if we do not do anything. That is, a federal quarantine will remain in effect, regulating the movement of products out of California and the infested parts of California to any other state and a number of other trading partners. We foresee that this quarantine will last indefinitely. We believe that growers will manage the infestations either by finding one way or another to deal with it, probably using pesticides of any number of kinds, organophosphates, carbamates, insect growth regulators, materials like Bacillus thuringiensis, or mating disruption. We believe that there will be insecticides applied by homeowners to protect some of their crops and some of their plants. These individuals will likely use the kind of materials they can buy in the store, which would include materials like BT, spinosad, carbamates, and organophosphate insecticides. Environmental review process, we will be taking comments until the 21st of August on this draft material on the scoping session. We will take either oral or written comments. We give no particular or no greater weight to either one. We accept them both. We would like you to tell us what you want to see included in the ecological and human risk assessment, and what are the questions you want to see answered in the draft EIR. The draft EIR will be available for review. We're projecting in December of 2008. If it's done then, there'll be a 45-day comment period, a little longer than normal to accommodate the holidays. We will have public hearings and workshops on the draft EIR during January and February of 2009, and those locations, dates, and times will be posted on the website and made available. Our contact person for all this is Jim Raines. Jim, wave your hands. Smile to the group. There's information here on how to contact Jim, his direct line, and his email. And you may either send him emailed information, email questions, comments, or send them in writing, written. We need to receive them by the 21st of August. There's a tremendous amount of information about the program on our CDFA website. It also has links to the USDA website. It also has information. Again, where comments are invited on methods or alternatives that meet the program objectives, potential environmental issues. We ask that you identify yourself, spell your last name, and the organization you represent, if any. We remind you again, you have until the 21st of August 2008 to get us comments.
Could you please identify yourself?
I'm the speaking head. I'm Dr. Robert Dowell. I'm the director of the Light Brown Apple Moth program here for the California Department of Food and Agriculture. Let's see. Okay, we've got that. We want to hear from you. This is not a question and answer session. Once I'm done speaking, we are done. Pam will moderate the meeting. She does not work directly for us. We have hired her to do that this time. This is a meeting where we're going to hear from you. And the whole goal is to maximize the amount of time we listen to you and we get your public input. So again, this is not a Q&A session. And on that note, Pam, you're up. Thank you very much.